Hey everyone, it's Karen. So today I am making a response video to Heather from the past video about her top 10 favorite books of all time. Now, one of the things that I do sometimes when I'm just like doing other things or want to like settle down before bed, I will sometimes rewatch really old videos of people that I have not followed from the start. Heather being one of them, and I'll include a list of other people down below who I just feel are really cozy and comforting, and I have not known them from day one, so I have lots of back material to catch up on. So Heather, back in the day, posted her top 10 favorites, and I wanted to share mine with you. I possibly have made this video in the past, I'm not sure, but these are my top 10 right now. When I cleaned out my shelves, I took every single book off, put every single book back on, unless I ditched it. And these are my top 10 favorite, not including children's books because that is just asking too much. So starting with fiction, my top book that not a lot of people talk about is The Heart Goes Last by Margaret Atwood. Now, I have this as a signed copy. However, I actually waited a few years after it came out to read it, even though I had the signed copy on my shelf for a really long time. And I don't know why I waited, I just didn't get to it. But I found it at the perfect moment, which happens a lot when I'm mood reading, which is kind of why I'm trying to stick to a lot of mood reading this year. But politically, there was a lot of stuff where I was like, how did Margaret Atwood know the future? And she does that a lot, actually, in her speculative fiction, which this is. Anyway, The Heart Goes Last basically takes place in the future where things in America, or possibly Canada, she is Canadian, but North America are a hot mess. And basically there's this husband and wife couple, or at least a couple, I'm not sure. And they're just kind of living out of their car, just trying to survive in this like apocalyptic sort of world, dystopian future, I suppose. And basically it's super unsafe. Everyone wants what everyone else has. There's not enough of everything to go around, and so you can often be like carjacked or raped or something crazy can happen to you when you're in your car. And yeah, so this husband and wife, or this couple, who knows, it's been a long time, they need a sense of security, and they are somewhere and they see this ad for this community or something like that, and they decide to just respond to the ad and find out more about this place. Well, it turns out that this is a place where you have like a really nice, in my mind it felt like a condo, a really nice condo that you and your spouse get for 1 month, and it just has everything you need. Like, it's so luxurious, everything is taken care of. I'm pretty sure there's maid services, and like everything is really, really nice, right? You get that for 1 month, but you share that with another family, and the month that you're not there, they are there. And when you're not there, you are in jail. You're in like prison for a month, and you have to do all this labor and all these things. And so it's basically, would you want this protection if you had to live the other part of your life in prison? So 1 month in your house, 1 month in prison, repeat, 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 repeat. And yeah, just a lot of the stuff I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me so much of current events when I was reading it, which would be The Last President. Okay, the other book that nobody talks about, and I want someone to read it, please read it. This is The Sacrament by Olof Olofsson. I really want to reread it, actually. But it tells the story of basically this nun who, are they in Iceland? Yes, they're in Iceland. She gets sent away back in the day to investigate this accusation that someone had against a priest. You guys kind of know this story in the Catholic Church. Really in any place where somebody is in power, not just the Catholic Church, but she goes and investigates and tries to figure out if the priest actually abused this person. Well, then it's in the future, and it's been a really, really long time since she has investigated this situation, and she gets a letter being called back. Somebody that she was involved in the past wants to communicate with her, wants to reach out to her and get together with her. And so it's kind of this multiple timelines between her investigating the situation in the past and then this person who's saying, like, listen, like, I know we talked years ago, I want to share some things. And so it's kind of dual timelines, and it's not super clear cut when it's going back and forth between the timelines, so you really have to pay attention. But the best part of this book is the ending. So if you think this whole Catholic Church abuse thing sounds interesting, like, okay, that's cool, but it's the ending that really made this book for me. I will never forget the ending, and I really want to reread it now that I know the ending. Okay, the next book is one of my favorite authors. However, I will say that probably now she is my favorite for nonfiction. The last fiction book of hers that I adored was State of Wonder, and that's, of course, by Ann Patchett, who mailed me a postcard in the past. Anyway, let's try this again because I keep messing this one up. This is State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. This is the story of a scientist whose work partner is in the Amazon and dies. And she has to go to the Amazon to find whatever might be left of his possessions, a body, like whatever. Nobody knows, right? And she has to find all this stuff and then bring it back to like his widow, and they have kids. They have 2 kids, I think. So it's this epic adventure of her trying to do that mission. At the same time, she also needs to go bug this other scientist that is living in the Amazon. She's super influential, super amazing, talented, whatever. And she is researching basically like some sort of drug involving fertility. And she is not sharing information about what she is researching with the people that are paying for the research. So they have been paying for this research for so long, and they want to know what their money is going towards. So this mission for our main character is to get her friend's stuff, and also to bug this other scientist to be like, hey, like, when are you finishing this? Like, you need to get your work done. It's not as straightforward as that. There's lots of other side drama. She also had a run-in with this famous scientist previously in her life, and so that pertains to the story quite a bit. The ending is very ambiguous, which I love. So if you read this book, tell me somehow privately what you think happened at the end. And if you haven't read it, you definitely should. Okay, now, this is nonfiction, but it's in with my signed books because it's signed. That's why this makes sense. Okay. This is I Miss You When I Blink by Mary Laura Philpott. She actually has a new book of essays coming out in April, so I would definitely pre-order that one for sure. She is hilarious, but she is very profound as well. This is a really good beach read for summer. Basically, it's her being like living her adult life and just coming to like this crisis where she just kind of wants to like start over from scratch, and you can't do that because you're a grown person with kids and a job and responsibilities. And basically it's kind of like adulting, navigating adult life, and it's told through hilarious stories. I think that you could easily feel deeply connected to her, while also she will make you laugh super, super crazy. So I really liked this one. All right. Then a lot of these are pretty plot-based, I would say. This one is definitely more literary fiction and more character-driven. This is My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout, who I also met. And this book is signed as well. Basically, this book is about a woman who kind of has an estranged, is estranged from her mom, and ends up in the hospital with some sort of weird illness. She doesn't really know what's going on, and she wakes up one day and her mom is at the foot of her bed, which is weird because they don't really have the best relationship. And so this is kind of just a very short book about her mom visiting her in the hospital, them kind of going back and going through previous memories that they've had, discussing people that they used to know or still know. It's very much like her other books, where there's a lot of just like going back and discussing memories and stuff like that. But you really see how childhood trauma shaped Lucy into the woman that she is today. And I just felt so deeply connected to it and loved this book so much. All right, back to the more plot ones. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is an amazing book that I think everyone already knows what it is about. Basically, it's in the future, the world is so populated that if you are lower income, you live in a trailer park, but you live on in a trailer that's stacked on top of another trailer on top of another one, because there's not enough room to just like spread people out horizontally in the trailer park. And basically in this society, you spend basically all your time online, which kind of reminded me of, well, I already read it, and then the pandemic happened, and then I felt like I was living in this society where you spend all your time online. You go to school online, you play games online, like your whole life is basically lived online. And the internet or this program or whatever, this kind of online world, is called the Oasis. So at the beginning of the story, you find out that the creator of the Oasis has died. He has loads and loads of money, but no one to give it to. So he has actually hidden like an Easter egg inside the Oasis, and there's like clues and stuff. And basically you have to find it. Once you find it, it will unleash all these challenges, or unlock, I should say, all these challenges. And you have to go through them one by one. And yeah, try and see if you can be the one to get the money in the end. And so our main character just lives in that trailer park. He's a teenager. His life is kind of a hot mess, and also he's just kind of a moody teenager, and he really needs that money. So it's kind of his journey trying to find the Easter egg. But one of my favorite parts about this book is basically the author put out this hardcover version, which I actually listened to it on audiobook my first time reading it, my only time reading it. So high recommend, because Will Wheaton reads it. But he put out the hardcover copy of this book. A year went by, people read it, loved it, but nobody found what he had actually hidden in this book. And so when the paper book copy came out, the author, Ernest Cline, basically said, hey guys, like, didn't you notice I hid an Easter egg in this book? And basically it's like a URL. Whoever finds it can go online and do their own like competition with various games and things. And then when they get to the end, they could possibly win the DeLorean car from like Back to the Future. And you can look it up on YouTube. Someone actually did win. I think that's super cool. Okay, then I have recently fallen in love with Stephen King, but 11/22/63 is my favorite. I love how it combines like history with kind of, I guess, magical realism, but I feel like I think that when I use that word, it typically makes me think of more whimsical sort of things, and this is more of like history with a bit of time travel in it. Basically, there's this teacher, and he loves going to this diner across the street. Well, one day, I think he's in school, and the owner of the diner is like, hey, can you come over? He's like, okay. Well, he comes and meets with the owner of the diner. The owner is a hot mess. He looks like he has aged so much, and the teacher just literally saw him like a couple days before. And he looks like decades older. He also looks like he's in horrible health, which is weird. Anyway, the owner of the diner basically tells the teacher that he is essentially dying and he wants to show him something. He wants him to like take care of the diner, and he wants him to complete a mission for him. So basically he takes him into like the storage closet, I think, and if you go to the back of it and you kind of shuffle your feet but keep walking, you'll notice that like you don't just like run into the wall. Like you actually keep going, and what you end up is going back to 1958, I want to say, and you're just on the street in 1958 living your life. And it's really cool thinking about like how you can be back in time, how your actions could change or could not change certain things. And actually he says like you can't change the past, like everything that you do will be erased when you come back. Yet, with that being said, at the same time, he basically wants the teacher to go back to 1958 or whenever, stay there until 11/22/63, and prevent the assassination of JFK. I found this so good. I don't normally like books this thick. I'm so intimidated by them, but I loved it. I just felt like I got sucked in so much to like the atmosphere of this. At the beginning, the guy just kind of experiments a little bit. The teacher, sorry, I'm not good at character names. I don't remember his name. The teacher goes back just to like see for a little bit, like not to stay for a long time, just to kind of get the hang of this time travel thing. And he goes to like a candy shop or something, and he gets like soda and whatever, and it's just like the descriptions of like the quality of the food back in the day were just so lovely, and so like you felt like you were there. And like because they didn't have all the artificial stuff that we have now, the teacher's just commenting like about the amazing flavors of everything that he is eating and drinking and all that stuff, and so that was super cool. Now I have 3 nonfiction books. And the first one is Zaytun. This is the true story of an Arab American sort of man who lived in New Orleans, when Hurricane Katrina hit. They were told to evacuate. He chose not to. He was kind of like a leader in the community, like not an official leader, but just like he kind of had this leadership role within the community, or this leadership mindset, and he wanted to make sure that everyone was taken care of. So he decided to do the right thing and stay back. I mean, not the right thing, that's a really hard decision to make, but he decided to take care of his community by staying back and making sure that anyone who wasn't able to leave and evacuate was taken care of. He's Arab American. Stuff happens to him that is horrible when he is just trying to help. And this was really interesting to hear his story and to hear the situation he got stuck in. And like, I was just blown away with like, how does this happen in America? And as we know now, a lot of things happen in America where I should not have been surprised by this anymore, ever. I should never have been surprised by this, but I totally was. And this also I listened to on audio, and it was really good on that as well. 2 more. Underground by Will Hunt. I don't know if he's written anything else, but this is basically true story of a guy, Will Hunt, who became really interested in exploring like the subway tunnels when he was a little bit younger, and it just created in him this excitement for underground places. So the book is broken up into various sections, and there's just, each chapter is a different story about something underground. So they're all kind of obscure titles: Descend, The Crossing, The Ochre Miners, The Burrowers. That one was really interesting, about a guy in England. Just like all these different places where you can go underground and just kind of exploring them and talking about them, and it's so good. A lot of these actually I've done blog posts on, and I really, not to like toot my own horn, but this book I really connected to and wrote a blog post about, because where I lived was apparently on top of the largest or second largest petrified forest in America, and petrified rainforest to be more specific, and that was in central Illinois. So I found that so cool when I learned about that, and I just felt connected to this book because of that. Like when you're walking around, what is actually under your feet? And yeah, so if you just like random nonfiction, this is really good. And then finally, this was one of my earlier books that I reviewed on NetGalley, so I had access to this one before it was published. It's Upstream by Mary Oliver. I'm not very much into poetry besides Hey Bert, which you guys should read, and Mary Oliver. But this was my really first time that I read a poet's work and enjoyed it. This is not just poetry, it's a lot of essays and things like that too. Basically, Mary Oliver just talks about her childhood, talks about now, talks about anything that involves life and things to talk about. She talks about nature quite a bit, hence the name Upstream. She talks about her childhood. She talks about her joy of reading and her joy of being outside and just her love for all those things. And I felt so deeply connected to this book. And so this is one of my favorites of all time as well. So those are my 10 favorites of all time. I'm wondering what your 10 favorites are. I will link Heather's vintage video below. I hope she's not embarrassed because it is really, really well done. And if you would like to make your top 10 of all time, that would be amazing too. Even if you've done it before, like I think I have, it's just nice to get an update to see if anything else has kind of made the list, made the cut. So anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend with loads of reading, and I will see you later. Bye.